Thank you, Simon, and thank you everyone for joining my presentation. So my background is commercial education, and that means that this conference focus of open education is really quite a new concept for me. Um, I rely on my education company, which I co-founded and co-own. I rely on that making a profit so that I can pay my mortgage on a house not quite as big as that. So the idea of giving away knowledge doesn't quite come naturally to me. So I absolutely believe, though, that education should be for everyone. So my project was an investigation into whether open education is viable then as a commercial project, a commercial prospect outside of academia. Spoiler alert is I absolutely believe it is, but getting there requires a bit of innovation and certainly some technology. So those of you in the UK are likely to have heard of this guy, heard of Joe Wicks, the body coach, and I'm sure some of our international audience have as well. He's a health and fitness educator, and his business is the case study for my project. I'm going to say either Joe Wicks or maybe even Joe, because I've been talking about him a lot through this presentation. And by that, I mean both him as a personality in the fitness industry and his company, which is the Body Coach. So I've created a website resource that examines how he has grown a financially sustainable business as an open educator and how that could be a model or an inspiration for others to do the same. So first of all, I wanted to define what an open education practitioner was. And I completed a detailed analysis of Joe Wicks against Catherine Cronin's definition of an OEP and Hegarty's 8 attributes of open pedagogy. So Alison, perhaps we need to talk. But that's all available on the website, along with the links to the evidence where the criteria was met. And actually, that was pretty substantial. There's a lot of evidence there. Just as a quick side note, I had a bit of a fan moment because I tweeted a link to the analysis and Dr. Cronin not only replied to my tweet, but also posted on the discussion area of the website. So that was quite an exciting result of network practice. But the outcome of the analysis was that the learning resources produced by Joe Wicks come very close to being open education resources, OER. But they don't have the revise and remix permissions required under Wiley's 5 Rs. And I have to be really careful here because actually I think that the revise remix element of OER is a big hurdle. It's the biggest hurdle of it being widely used outside of academia. And if a resource can be linked to or embedded in another website, then that's pretty open as far as I'm concerned. I do know that true Wiley 5R enthusiasts are not going to agree with me on that. Always happy to have that debate, perhaps outside this conference. My last element of academic analysis is a video of Dave Cormier explaining rhizomatic learning, and I really like this as an alternative view of learning. I think it's a great way to frame Joe Wicks learners. They're learning self-directed, they're adults who are finding their way to being fitter and healthier in whatever context or whatever that means for them. And their journey and their success measures are going to be different for everyone as well. If you haven't come across rhizomatic learning or want to know more about it, this is a really neat video if you've got time to watch it. Moving on, the second section of the website is OEP in action. I linked to all the free resources available from Joe Wicks, his YouTube channel, his website articles, recipes, social media. There is so much regularly updated content that is freely available to everyone. But of course, the big question for a money-minded commercial educator for myself is how is this funded? My business is teaching accountants, so I went to my favorite resource, which is Companies House, and I looked up Joe Wicks' business accounts. And he had £3.6 million in the bank in March 2020. So where has this come from, and how is he paying his mortgage on a much bigger house than mine and paying his staff? And one source of that is his YouTube channel. So instead of paying for a virtual learning environment or learning management system to hide away his videos behind a paywall with all the admin time that goes into course creation and maintaining that, the videos are actually hosted on YouTube, which is, as you know, already a global platform. So every time a learner plays a video, Joe is paid by YouTube from advertising revenue. The content is free for the learner, and the educator gets paid for their time and their expertise. And I love this as an example of how technology and an innovative and open approach to sharing knowledge can work for absolutely everyone involved. The other revenue sources are more traditional, so there's a paid for course and an app. There's published recipe books, those are mine, sitting in the picture there. And now, because he's a personality, sponsorship and endorsements are a big source as well. Moving on, the third section of the website summarizes the benefits of open practice and then asks what's stopping you. So here I focus on the negative side of social media, using Tony Coughlin's 5 risks for educators using social media. And it's a really neat summary article of what the risks are. And I think deciding what to share, and perhaps more importantly what not to share, is quite a big part of moving to being an open practitioner. And Joe Wicks is incredibly open. He shares a lot about his own life. His wife and his children quite often feature in his videos and images, and I can really understand why a lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable doing this. So this section of the site just offers some advice on how to make those decisions. And then finally, I invite the user to reflect and decide how openness can work for them and their education business. I give a blank downloadable version of the academic analysis tool that I used to analyze Joe Wicks, and then they can download that and apply it to their own context. And I also link to some key resources for open education as well. So that's a quick tour of the web resource. There's a clickable link for you because it's built in Google Sites. It's a bit convoluted, so do have a look at it. I also wanted to say quickly thank you to everyone who helped me structure my thoughts when I posted on Open Studio. And I was searching for a community of commercial open education practitioners. And it really helped me identify my next step for this project, which would be to define a scale of commercial open practice. So at one end you've got simple taster material that's given away in anticipation of a sale, and at the other end truly open practice and resources. I think there's a lot to do, possibly for another day, but thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I will take any questions.